Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just gonna do a quick video on exposing my settings, I guess. I'm gonna be exposing my composition settings as well as my render settings because a lot of you guys wanted me to do a video on how I get my quality up so high when I post on Instagram, which honestly, I feel like is really difficult when you don't have the right settings. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you my composition settings first. So you just go to composition and then composition settings. And I just named this test. You can already see lots of my composition settings right here. My width and height usually varies, but I always have my width on 1920. The height is what varies because I sometimes like to edit in more of a square, but other times I do the normal 1920 by 1080, which looks like that. It's like a widescreen, but then sometimes I want to do like 1250. It looks a little bit more like a square, so sometimes I like to edit in that, but other times I don't. So that's the first thing that I do. My frame rate is always at 30 because if I wasn't doing Instagram, it would have been on 60. Because I just love 60 frames per second. I think it just looks so amazing and smooth and everything. But because Instagram can't handle 60 frames, Instagram only has 30 frames, so there's no need for me to edit in 60 frames per second unless I'm uploading it somewhere else as well, but I'm not, so 30 is good enough for me. Also, if I did edit in 60 frames per second, the edit would have come out looking a little bit weird, just because they're trying to squeeze those 60 frames per second into 30 frames, and it just comes out looking a little bit weird. So the key is to edit in 30 when you're posting on Instagram, but if you're posting on YouTube or anything, you can just edit in 60 or even 120, whatever you want. Depending on your monitor, obviously, and what kind of speed it has and all that computer stuff. Alrighty, let's go over to advanced. So the only thing you have to worry about here is my shutter angle. I keep this at 600. What this is motion blur. Now, that's confusing, right? Because motion blur is over here, right? Like, that's what you're used to. Yes, it is. The motion blur is enabled right here, but this is where you control how much motion blur it is. I think automatically it's set to only 200, so by turning this up, you get more motion blur, which means it ends up looking smoother. So I keep mine at 600. I can bump it up to 800, but for now I've had it at 600 for a few months now, and it's honestly looking pretty great. Alright, let's just go ahead and head out of that, and then let's say this was my video, even though there's nothing in it, but I want to render it because I want to show you my render settings. So what I do is that I render in Adobe Media Encoder, and that is a software by Adobe that you can download. Get it for free. Just kidding. Unless I do have Adobe Media Encoder, because with After Effects CC 2019, which is the one I have, I can't use the add to render queue anymore because the only option I have for quality is AVI, which well, I do have these options, but it's not the option that I want, and I'll tell you why that is. When you head off to Adobe Media Encoder, it'll just open up whenever you click add to the queue, and you see your project right here. As you can tell, I have H.264, which is what I've always used, even when I was allowed to add it to the normal render queue in my previous Adobe softwares. I've always used this. This is the best one for sure. I didn't really mess around with this. I just have it at match source high bitrate, and that's honestly about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you took something out of it, and happy editing, and I hope your videos end up looking awesome and in really good quality. Bye guys!